Welcome to episode number 18 of the WWIM podcast. That's WWIM podcast, Women Who Inspire Me. Our guest today is the smart, hilarious, talented, beautiful, kind, chill, woodworking, animal-loving Daralyn Kelleher. Did I miss anything?
That was flawless. Maybe you forgot humble, but I was kidding.
Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us the story of Daralyn Kelleher.
Oh.
What got you here today, and what was your journey growing up, influences, that kind of thing?
Okay, that's
it's a loaded question.
so specific.
Yeah. Well, you grew up in Massachusetts.
I did.
Yes.
I did. Yeah, I was here until my 20s, and then I moved to New York.
Okay.
And I moved to New York because I had a job in advertising right out of college.
Okay.
Yes. And it was really exciting. Like, it kind of felt like storybook, like, because it was for a magazine,
Like
you know?
like you were in a movie almost, right?
Yeah, it felt that way. But I actually hated the job when I got to New York. Like, I didn't get along with my boss. Like, I just felt like she was kind of always judging me and I didn't trust her, and she didn't trust me. And it was just a bad, like, fit, I guess.
Right.
And then
How long did that last?
I did that job for 6 months.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I kind of just made a choice. Like, I guess I had a habit of making a lot of choices for other people. Like, I had been told I should do, because it was an advertising, but it was selling advertising space. So, like, I had been told I should be a salesperson because people had said I smile a lot or I'm very friendly. So I was just kind of following instructions to the point where, like, that was my major in college, and just people always told me I should do things, so I did them. And then yeah, it was just not the best way to form.
I'm
a
glad
sense
I
of
asked
self.
you to be on the podcast and not told you should be on the podcast.
Yeah, well, me a while back would have been like, okay, if you say so. But so my habit back then had been just do what people say and then get to a point where I can't take it anymore and then just act out of rebellion.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I quit the job and I started managing a coffee shop in Brooklyn, and I started stand-up comedy.
Wow.
And that was in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not an easy decision to make. But you knew it was time.
But I wouldn't call it the most healthy, but back then, because I would let things go for so long, I'd be very impulsive.
Oh.
And so it was kind of a thing where I'd just been unhappy. And then just one day I was like, I can't take it anymore. And I just made all the decisions all at once. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
And didn't look back.
Well,
Did look
definitely
back?
I peaked. Yeah. I was like, what did I just do? But at the same time, I don't know.
Now, was there comedy at the coffee place too? Or were those connected at all, or
not connected per se, but
Yeah.
everybody that worked at the coffee shop was very artistic.
okay,
And
creative types?
Yeah. Just I would exclusively use the word hipster,
Okay.
which back then was the word to use.
Yes.
And so yeah, it was just culture shock into the most artistic environment that could be.
Right.
Yeah.
And what drew you to stand-up comedy? Had you been a fan all along, or what put that idea in your head? I can do that.
Well, I think always with close friendships, I could make my friends laugh. And it was always sort of a tool I used when I felt like that, like, my friends were maybe needed cheering up or weren't happy. Like, I would just become absurd, which in retrospect is also sort of like a controlling thing. Like, I couldn't just be there for them and let them be sad. But like, now I would, go about things differently. But that was something I did with friends. And then also with family, like, I had a really sort of strict, tense childhood. And so I would use it as a way to act out and make my siblings laugh.
Or how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have a brother and a sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in the middle?
I'm the youngest.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry about that. No. Did they say you were spoiled, or no?
Yeah, they said that
Okay.
a lot, actually. Yeah.
So you use humor with them?
Yeah, definitely.
Same in my family. We were joking all the time.
Yeah, and you're the middle child too.
Middle of five.
I remembered that from that episode I listened to.
Okay. So then, but at some point, I mean, a lot of people think they're funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not a lot of people take that other step to like going up on stage?
Right.
At what point were you like, I'm going to do that?
Well, when I first moved to New York, during those 6 months, I did have sort of a strange experience where it did feel like fate, because I had this best friend at the time who we would just sort of like go on adventures together. We would just be like, let's go to this bar, let's go just walk around, whatever. And we were doing that in Williamsburg and Brooklyn, and there were arrows on the sidewalk with chalk. And we were just like, well, what are these arrows? Yeah, we followed them, and it was to a comedy show at this place called the Royal Oak Tavern.
Okay.
And it was comics that were probably 2 to 4 years in, and they were just kind of doing their best, and we were the only 2 audience members.
Oh my God.
Shit.
Yeah, we were the only ones that followed the arrows.
I bet they appreciated it.
Yeah, well, it was just crazy, because I was like, these are people who are just like me. Like, they're around my age, and yet they're up on a stage and they're trying, and they're putting themselves out there. So that kind of put the seed
in your head, of performing yourself.
Yeah, like I had sort of here and there, I had seen things that sort of would spark it for me, and then I'd be like, no, I don't know if I should do it. And then just like immediately just being in that environment, I was like, well. And then right after the show, they're like drinking with us, buying us drinks, and being like, you got to try this. Here's how you're going to try it. Here's where you're going to go. Like, it was literally mapped out for me.
Wow,
that was nice.
Yeah.
And so what was the time between that and your first time on stage? What was the time period?
I think within the next week, I went to where they said to go.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And did you have things prepared? Did you just say, I'm going to go up on stage and do whatever? Or...
Oh, my first time.
Did you read a book? Did you what was your preparation? I read books. I watched documentaries. Plus I had watched stand up basically my whole life before I went up on stage for the first time.
Okay. Yeah. You're saying preparation moves. For a second, I was like, does he mean read a book on stage? I did not do that, but I've over the before the first time, not so much preparation. I did my best to just write things that I thought were funny, but I didn't understand joke structure.
Okay.
And I was very, very scared. And I just got through it. I was given a 5-minute set. I think I did 3 minutes, and I waited to be one of the last ones. And if not the very last. And I just got through it,
Yeah. So you're just like, I did it.
Yeah.
Done. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you said, okay, I got to go back and figure out how to write a joke and structure and all that stuff, or
and
just learned as you went along kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, in New York, the people who I had met were very obsessed with repetition. So, the standard there was 10 times a week. So,
whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I always did 10 times a week, but if people,
that was in your mind, I got to do this a lot if I'm going to do it kind of thing.
Yeah. And people said if that's how you knew if you should respect someone, basically. Like, do you see them everywhere?
Oh, okay.
And so I knew that was the first thing I learned. It was just like, well, you're going to have to do this a lot. And so I tried to abide by that, but I didn't know what I was doing or how. So I would show up, but I bombed so much because I didn't know how to write a joke. And I don't think I learned how to write a joke, a real proper punchline, until at least 3 years in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did no one kind of took you under their wing and said, hey, you might want to do this, or give you tips? Or
there were certain people that sometimes I have memories that are coming into my mind as you're saying that I remember one guy, he was like, you got to slit your wrists on stage. and that he just meant
empty your soul out.
Yeah. He was trying to get me to be more vulnerable, but then I would just take advice way too literally. No, I didn't do that, but I didn't do that, but I would just
killed.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah. But no, but I would go and just say really sad things, which, sometimes I still struggle with that. How sad can I go and be able to balance it out with the logic?
Those are the best jokes.
Yeah.
Those are the best. You have those jokes too that are so sad, but the funniest jokes.
Thanks. I mean, they only can be developed by failing a lot and really making people upset and uncomfortable.
I think the best are I'll say something I'll mention having brain cancer, and everyone's like, what? And then, but I know in my mind, in 30 seconds, they're going to be laughing. Like, to me, those are the best jokes. I don't know if you have similar setups.
I totally agree, because it's such a risk when you say those words. and if you're prepared and you know that what you're going to come up with in 15 seconds is going to like pull them out of it, it's like the best feeling ever. But inversely, it's also the worst feeling ever when you can't get out of it. But it's worth the work.
So you're doing a lot of stand-up when you started. You were not 10 times a week, but you were doing it a lot. So how long were you in New York doing that?
For 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And what are some of your most memorable New York comedy shows? Does anything come to mind? Like when someone famous showed up or anything like that happen, or first clicked on stage, hey, I can do this.
Well, I guess I have stories for all of those.
Yes.
But
share away. No.
I mean, there's like been lots of really cool drop-ins, and to be able to do comedy alongside like Zach Galifianakis would drop in, or like,
wow.
I used to be able to regularly book Judah Friedlander, and just all sorts of really good people. Louis C.K. pre weird
controversy
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So just seeing all of that. I used to book Todd Barry, like I booked Alana Glazer during her Broad City peak, like all this, like, so like it feels good to have worked with those people and to know those people, not like but
right
know enough,
feel like you're part of the scene.
I mean, at my peak, I felt like comedy was life. And, I had about 3 or 4 different shows that I ran, and they were all pretty successful.
Wow.
Yeah, like one of them I did at this venue that doesn't exist anymore. It used to be called Videology. And it was it was a bar, but it was sort of a pretend video store in back. And I had scouted this venue out like right when it opened, because I knew that it was like a really cool idea. And I started this show with this guy named Ross Parsons, and the two of us ran it. It was called Comedyology. And so we would intersperse stand up with original funny shorts that creators made.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, we loved it. We did it for probably 2 years or so. And we just like every time I put myself out there and done these major things, like cool things would happen. Like I remember an MTV executive came into Comedyology, and the executive was much more interested. He wasn't interested in me, but he was interested in my co-producer.
Oh, okay.
And I remember him handing the business card and me sort of reaching for it and being like, wait, but I did get to like work with my co-producer on coming up with the idea of a show and go into the MTV offices and pitch them on it.
That's
nice.
Really cool.
That was really cool.
That's just a cool experience.
Yeah.
Like, even whatever comes of it, or,
Yeah.
Wow.
Just happy to have lived through it,
Yeah.
Like, so I did do that. And like, I had this other show, also in Williamsburg at this place called the Wythe Hotel. And that was sort of like after a couple of years of putting on shows. And that one was like a small theater that it went upwards, so it kind of looked like a movie theater, and it could seat 74 people. And that's where I booked Alana Glazer and Todd Barry. That was like my highest end venue, and I would walk around Williamsburg just like handing out invitations to people to go to the show. And so I did a lot of that stuff.
Sounds really, really cool. Like, so then what brought you out of New York? Like,
well, okay, so I guess for me, where I've always sort of struggled is just like boundaries, because as I mentioned before, like comedy was life for me. Like it was all I thought about. And so like I did date other comedians, and
sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I might need a support group. But yeah, so there was one comedian in particular that I dated, and he had been doing comedy about 10 years more than I had. And he was very connected in the scene. And when we broke up, it kind of felt like, it didn't just feel like, he would actually go on podcasts and say bad stories about me. And like, my character was a bit assassinated. And at the time I wasn't strong enough to know how to deal with that, because
I'm sure it was shocking that he was doing it. Like, were you surprised? Or were you like, yeah, that makes sense?
Well, I was shocked at first.
Yeah.
And then I asked him to stop, and he wouldn't stop, and he would actually go on the podcast and say like I'm doing it anyway, like talk to me and say it through the podcast. And yeah, and so I don't want to like even harp on that one thing too much, because
but
technically
that was definitely part of it. It sounds like
and technically I'm ironically doing the same thing right now. But like I had to sort of like learn how to navigate a situation like that, and I didn't have the tools to know how back then. So that it soured it a bit for me, just being so far involved but not knowing how to stand up for myself publicly. And then one day I got this message from this guy on Facebook, and it was it was so weird because it was like vague, and it just said, "Can I see you do stand up?" And I was like, "Who is this person?" And I looked them up, and they were a producer for a show that was on CBS.
Wow.
And they were a creator of a show on CBS, and they had been an executive producer on 2 other really large CBS shows. And so I was like, oh my God. And I like freaked out, and I had shows that week too, and I was like, this is perfect. And I think I had like 2 or 3 shows. I was like, you can go to any of these dates.
Right.
And then he didn't go to any of them. And I had great sets, and I was like, God damn it.
And did it say sorry I didn't make it, or did you not hear back? Or
he messaged me again. He was like, sorry I didn't make it. How about this week? I didn't have any shows. I was like, God damn it. So then I put on.
Well, you have tape or anything to send him? Like, he must have seen something. Right?
I don't know what he saw or how he found me.
Yeah.
But like, I produced a show in 2 days and just got him there. But it was only like, I only got like 8 or 10 people in the audience, or even less than that, probably
tough.
6.
Yeah,
but he came anyway, and I like, it still went well. And he was like, oh my God, like, well, he didn't say oh my God, but he was like, he was like, that was really good. Do you have acting experience? I'm writing a show, and I'm interested in putting you in it. And then he took me out to lunch and was like telling me about it. And then I was literally like, this is it. This is my break.
Yeah.
And then he just never, like, he would message me here and there, but never be like, the show is happening.
Right.
And I would literally have fantasies of my phone ringing, just like, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, once I got that close to something, I was like, okay, well, if that guy came from LA, I'm just going to go to LA and just see if I can just, if I go there myself, put myself in that environment. Yeah. So that's why I left New York. I got so disappointed, and I just said, well, let's just see what happens.
Wow. And you moved to LA?
Yeah, I did.
Whoa. So what year is that?
That was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was that adventure like?
Well, I got to LA, and
with no job and no place? Like,
no job, no place. Guilty as charged. I got in trouble because I had a retirement account that I wasn't supposed to use, and I used it to go there. Okay. I didn't have any
money saved for later in life, and you said.
Yeah. And
I did the same thing. I took
You did?
trip around 48 states with retirement, like severance retirement money.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to enjoy this now. I don't care. When I'm 80, I'll look back and wish I had done this.
Honestly, like, here I am years later, I still would do it again.
Yeah, nice.
I still would do it again because I loved LA. And it was like, I'd always wanted to live there my whole life. And it goes back to the thing I said in the beginning, where like, I always did what people told me I should do. And like, everybody always told me, don't go there because it's so far away.
Okay. So that made you think I should go there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did.
Nice.
And I was really like, I stayed in an Airbnb. I brought my 2 cats out there, and I secured a place within 3 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, like, I had to have a roommate who ended up being creepy and trying to kiss me, but like that was fine. Like, I survived it. Then I like quickly secured a studio. I was like, get me out of there. But so that was really cool to go there. Like, when I got to LA, I didn't know if I should be focusing on stand-up, because I was like, I just put in 6 hard years, and I was like, I am here in the mecca of entertainment. Maybe I should be focusing on acting. Okay. Because I was like, still just trying to figure out, what is it that I like about any of this?
Yeah, you studied communications.
I did.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And so I signed up for an acting school, and I was going on auditions and trying to get an agent. And I still was doing stand-up my first year in LA, at least once or twice a week. So that's sort of how it all started out there. Yeah. And then as it went on, I got away from stand-up. I had I guess it was much harder to get as ingratiated as I got into the New York scene out there.
Just more people, more wider scene or bigger scene, or
not bigger.
Harder to break into? Or?
Harder to break into for me.
Okay.
Much more people that were into acting and using stand-up as sort of like a hobby. And everybody was very into act outs and selling their performance and being an incredible performer. Versus in New York, I had been used to a culture where everyone was obsessed with joke writing.
Material and the craft.
And so I would,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I hadn't really put a ton of effort into my showmanship as much. Like I had worked so hard on jokes, and like that part I would sort of mumble my jokes into the microphone, and they were like, doing twirls in their sets. So it just wasn't exactly matching up, but it wasn't a horrible match either. It wasn't horrible. And I remember sometimes people would go up to me and tell me they thought I was funny. Like I was encouraged a bit to remain there, but it didn't feel right. And I remember I did an open mic at the end, and this is where it, like, I don't know, like I just had continued to feel insecure. I wasn't making a ton of LA friends, had some New York friends that I would see at the mics, and that was reassuring. But I did this mic in Echo Park, and this guy followed me. Like I went to go to the bathroom, and it was a 1-person bathroom, and he like went into the bathroom and asked me to repeat my jokes. He said, "I missed your set. Can you do your set again?" In the bathroom. And I don't know if he had mental problems, or like he also like he may I just don't know. I don't know. And I guess
that's not a normal behavior.
It's not normal behavior. And I speculate, but I just don't know why he did that, So
it's an LA thing? No.
Yeah, exactly. Is this what you guys do here? Yeah. So I just left, and at that point I just lost a certain sense of safety. Like I was like, I'm in a different city. I'm not fitting in as much. And now a guy followed me to the bathroom. That's weird. Yeah. And I didn't tell anyone. I posted about it on Facebook later, and the host of the mic saw it and was like, "I'm so sorry that happened. I don't even know who that was." And I was like, "Well, I don't know who it was."
It wasn't a comedian. It was just an audience member.
Most likely not a comedian. It could have been an employee of the cafe, but we never even narrowed it down. Yeah. And I guess I just felt I wanted away from it all.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you audition for shows or movies or any of that stuff, or?
So I never got an agent. And I tried.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard task. Yeah. For a writer, actor, doesn't matter what you're doing. Because there's 1 million people and only 1,000 agents. So like, you do the math. Like
exactly. Yeah. And like, I remember I would send out these mass emails like with my resume and headshot, and like some of them even answered it like immediately. They were like, "No, thank you." And I was like, okay.
I'm not even going to consider.
Yeah.
I used to live in Waltham, and the wall of my bedroom was all the rejection letters from agencies.
Wow.
And we had a party one night. So I'm in like my mid-20s. And we had a party one night, and my buddy Glenn is looking at the letters. So it's like 12 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And he's looking at one of these letters. It was, early cell phone days. This is the early 2000s. Takes the cell phone, calls the number on the letter, and leaves a message in the middle of the night saying, like, representing me. "How dare you reject Dave McGrath's stuff?"
Oh my
blah,
God.
blah. Yeah, like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm like, oh, that's going to help. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the intentions were in the right place, but maybe not execution.
Yeah. So at that point, you had enough of LA?
Not LA. Just, I needed to take a step back from comedy.
From comedy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And I ended up nannying for several years, and also stepping back from acting. Like for me, that was sort of my breaking point.
Yeah. How did you like nannying? Nannying could be a good gig if you like the family, I would guess. No?
I actually loved nannying. Yeah. And what was, I think, interesting looking back on it now is like, I had spent so much time putting myself in uncomfortable situations, like starting in 2011 with comedy and going from there. And I guess like eventually that's what being uncomfortable is what eventually translated to me learning how to be funny, because like a lot of my jokes, like it was to the point where I was so uncomfortable it became ridiculous, and I could think about the ridiculous part and make that the funny part.
Okay.
But when I started nannying, it was so strange and foreign because I was so comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like where a person like me who like doesn't want conflict and just wants to play and have fun, like I can relax a little.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting because it built my confidence in a different way.
Okay.
But I think it also like maybe made me less funny because I was stopped fighting and I started just withdrawing and relaxing.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and it was also an interesting angle because I was nannying in Los Angeles, like for a lot of celebrities. Like some of the stuff I'm saying, like or like that I would say, I can't say because I signed non-disclosures. But I mean, like,
you tell me what age were the kids? Can you tell me that?
Yeah. The main little girl I nanny for, she was 8. She started at age 4, and I left when she was like 9.
Okay.
But
that's kind of the age I'm when I teach in elementary school.
Oh, really?
I kind of do that
aged.
age. Yeah, 5 to 8 is most of the kids at the school.
It's a really cute, playful age.
They're like, you know, you can have a conversation with them, but also they think you know everything. So, like,
yeah, that's so true. So you can see why it would build confidence.
Right.
Like it was a great gig, and I guess, you know, by the end of my time in LA, I had been away from Massachusetts for a decade, and I was just like I still felt like a tugging back here. Like I have my family back here.
You're a masshole, Daralyn. No, whether you like it or not. No.
It unfortunately, that is always going to be a part of me. And you know, I just wanted to get back to my family after so much time away to see how I would relate to this state and to the people in this state after all this change.
Yeah, I mean, so it must have been, even Massachusetts must have been different than when you remembered it, or like.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
Well,
and was there a thing in LA where you're like, it was just, I need to be back in Massachusetts, or that's my home, or?
Well, the pandemic pushed me a lot into isolation. I got temporarily furloughed from the nannying job, and that's when I started woodworking.
I was just gonna say. So
yeah. Yeah.
So tell me, so that you're still in LA when you discovered that?
I was. Yeah.
YouTube. How did you come across that? Like, what put that in your head?
Well, that was just a nice sort of lower pressure way to try to put myself out there without like the high stakes of having to perform live.
Okay.
And I just wanted to maintain any type of connection during the 2 months where I was completely living by myself with cats. And at the time I had foster cats too. So I think I had 7 cats or something. Yeah. I was living in like this 2-story loft, and like it was perfect. The cats loved it. It was like a giant cat tower for them.
Yeah.
Just going up and down. But like I ordered a saw on Amazon and I was just doing it.
Any woodworking experience?
No.
You just said, I want to do woodworking. Like what? Something like what made you do that?
I just wanted to have, I guess, a hobby where I could create things.
Okay.
And in a way, creating things is sort of like solving problems. So wherever I saw problems around my life, or I was like, well, I can just make something. Like one of the first things I made was a nightstand.
Okay.
And I was just like, well, I don't have a nightstand, and I could order one, but I have so much time. Why don't I just save money and try to learn how to make one?
Wow. And you did it?
I eventually did. It took a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you bought a saw.
Yeah.
And you're teaching yourself, but are you watching videos? Like what? Yeah,
I was watching videos, but it was honestly I wouldn't recommend anyone do what I did because it was very dangerous. And eventually I started taking classes because like it's a lot easier when you just take classes.
Yeah, yeah. Plus when I feel, for me anyway, when you spend money, whether it's on an app to teach you something or classes, you're invested in it. So like you're almost forcing. For me, I'm like, well, you got to do that thing. You got to do that Duolingo, Dave. You're paying for it. So like, I don't know if it was the same for you, but
yeah, no, it did feel like an investment, absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously, you got better. I mean, you just do it now.
Yeah, I mean, and I still even take classes, and I still consult experts now because now I realize that's just part of the process, and it's not something where I'll gain instant expertise. Like it's been 4.5 years, and I still want to
learn more.
Yeah, definitely.
So was the nightstand the first thing you made?
Yeah.
Like, wow, I can do woodworking.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's a cool feeling.
It was.
I'm sure when my first when I wrote my first screenplay and printed it out, just holding that, I was like, wow, I did this. Like, is it similar when you're sitting there? Like, that's me. Like, I did that.
It definitely was. Yeah. And I was able to stylize it, and I put a little like cap pull on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did. It made me feel really proud. And a lot of the difficulties I had with stand-up was projecting my own feelings, or, receiving maybe the idea that somebody was slighting me or rejecting me. And that didn't happen from working with objects. So
the wood's not talking to you saying, what are you doing?
Yeah, ideally that's not going to be what's happening.
I used to be a tree.
Yeah.
You killed one of my family members to make that nightstand.
Right. Like the wood does not talk.
And so now your woodworking is primarily now with pet furniture, or?
Yeah.
Do people like email you and say, I need a couch for my dog, or do they see what you've made and buy it? Like, how does that?
It can be a little column A, column B.
Yeah.
I went through a period of time where I was trying really hard to make that my business. And who knows if I'll be doing that again, but I ended up selling like 60 of them. And
that's a business.
Yeah. But I guess this whole pursuit has been, as I do it, I think to myself, like, well, you just take it all the way, create whatever life you want to create for yourself. So I don't know if it will, in my ideal life, be selling them, because then you have deadlines and you have a lot of parameters.
More
that you
responsibility.
Have to, yeah. And maybe my ideal life becomes I get to just make it online, make really unique things online, and people, like, I get monetized online that way.
Okay.
As opposed to maybe they buy it too. But
what would your dream job be? Doing stand-up, being an actress, combination of different things?
It's tough to say that without things being positioned in front of me. Yeah. And the answer used to be I would have died to be on a sitcom. Yeah. I would have loved that.
Now, do people even watch sitcoms anymore? I don't know.
It's then the landscape has changed so much within the last decade,
right.
Which is is when I've been every time I try to pursue something, everything changes. Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's definitely shows that people watch, just not necessarily on TV. More, right. They stream it more.
Right.
But
yeah, my niece binged through Friends like in one summer. I'm like, we had to do that shit over years, like,
right.
And wait for the commercials.
I know, they made it so hard for us. Like if there was a new episode, you had to just like maybe hope to catch it some other time.
I don't know I don't think you're this old, but when I was a kid, The Wizard of Oz was on once. It was on usually during February vacation. It was on once a year on TV. And if you missed it, tough shit. You got to wait a year. Like, so that kind of sucks, but it also made it special. It was like an event. Like, oh my God, we're going to watch Wizard of Oz this year. So it was like so special. And now you can watch anything at any time on pretty much anywhere. Like,
right. Yeah, the specialness is gone. That, I guess they used to sort of have a power over us in that way when they release things. But
I still love going to the movies though, like, and sitting there on a huge screen, especially not so much comedy movies, but like an action Star Wars movie. I want to see on a huge screen with all the sounds around me.
Yeah,
I still love doing that.
The ambience of a movie theater is still special, especially when you get a good recliner and popcorn and candy.
God. Well, there's one in Millbury. It's called the X Plus. And it's literally more comfortable than any chair I've ever been on in anyone's home. So it's like worth it.
I'm moving it.
Yeah.
Maybe you need new furniture, Dave.
Maybe I do. I don't know.
Do we know anyone that makes furniture here?
We do. For pets, I'd have to be someone's pet.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess this ends in you wearing a cat suit.
Have you ever gotten any weird orders for that? Like, I need something for my pet, and you're like, what? Or is it always just like a couch or a...
No, yeah.
How does that work?
Because I'm so undefined in all of this, people do come to me. They're like, I want you to make something that is waterproof for the beach, that like they can lay in, but also is a purse. And
a transformer.
Yeah. And I like, so there's a lot of things I turn down, like, and people ask me to upholster their normal human furniture. And I turn that down too. Like, I'm not necessarily an upholstery expert, but like I can make it through. I mean, I do a pretty good job making these little sofas.
So you mentioned your cats. Are you a dog person too, or is it just cats?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like when I was a kid, my family had this animal care business that it was like a like a dog and cat boarding business.
Oh, okay.
For 50 dogs and 25 cats. And
Whoa!
That was part of our house. Yeah.
So that's okay. That's plain to see where the animal loving comes from.
Yeah. At first, maybe I pushed away from it because I was just like, my whole life had always been animals. So in my early 20s, I was just like, get me away. But then I was like, get them back. I do love them a lot.
Nice. So you're in LA, you're learning how to you're making your furniture. It's the pandemic. When do you come back to Massachusetts? What year is that?
In the spring of 2022 is when I came back.
So almost 3 years you've been.
Yeah, almost 3 years. That's right.
And what's that transition?
So that was hard because I moved into my mom's house. And so I told you at the beginning of the podcast, I have a brother and a sister, but I also used to have another brother. And I had to move into my passed away brother's bedroom.
Sorry to hear that. That's got to be real tough.
It was hard. It happened when I was a kid.
Okay.
But that was,
That doesn't make it any easier to go into that room.
I mean, so the room didn't look like that anymore.
Okay.
Like it was totally changed. And, you should just be grateful that you have a room. But at the same time, I couldn't not see it the way that I had
and
it
think
in my
about
head.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it kind of lit a fire under my butt to just like, get a place. And I eventually did after 6 months. But that's why I ended up going to the Hotel Vernon is because the house where I was living was closer to Worcester.
Okay.
But now I live closer to Boston.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so was that your first mic back in Massachusetts, the Hotel Vernon?
Yes, it
nice.
was.
Wow.
And not just back in Massachusetts, but first mic back in years.
Whoa.
Yeah, because basically since I stepped away after that guy followed me to the bathroom, like I just kind of put it all on hold for years.
Okay. How easy, like once you said my bet is once you were on stage and said your first joke, you're like, okay, did your brain like click again and say, I know this, or was it a hard transition back?
What was interesting was because I back to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I was so uncomfortable, like living in that room and just with all of the change I was dealing with, I actually think I presented myself pretty confidently. I mean, I was just doing old material, but I found
it still feels new if you haven't done it in 3 years, at least. I would think. I don't know. Yeah.
It did. Like, I think I got acceptance pretty decently in 2022 when I first started to dabble in it again. And that was really nice. And it was something I really needed because everything felt so uncertain to me at that time. But then just as I tried to sort of like make my way here in Massachusetts, I was like, for a second I was managing a restaurant, and then I ended up like being overworked and hating that. So I didn't do comedy because all I did was work my nights at restaurants, and I just couldn't hold on to it. And I've only been doing comedy again now for like 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how have those 7 weeks been? Up and down?
Really up and down.
Yeah, that's what I would gather.
Really up and down. Because
like I'll talk to Mark and he'll be like, it's the worst week ever in comedy. this night, this one sucked. This guy was a jerk to me that night. Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm ready to quit. And then today he's like, it was the best week ever. I killed here. This guy.
Right? Isn't it crazy? It just makes you feel like you're crazy because you're trying to have that baseline.
Always your last 3 performances, or even your last performance. Yeah. That's how you feel. Whatever happened a week before,
and you just
doesn't matter.
You just never know. 5 years ago, I was on this. Nikki Luparelli does this drunk show where the comedians have to blow into a breathalyzer and they have to be drunk to perform. Mm-hmm. Those performers get a designated driver. I don't drink, so I was on this show, and everything I said, everyone was laughing. Like the one time I killed was this time. And I was like, oh, my God, this is what it's like to kill. Like everything, it doesn't matter what I'm saying. They just love it, and they think it's hilarious. Afterwards, people were coming over to me as the crowd left. You were great. Like, and I've done shows where 1 or 2 people will do that, but like everyone, and almost like embarrassing, like comedians standing next to me weren't getting that. I almost felt embarrassed for them. And my friend Pat, shout out to Pat Nowak, said, he's like, dude, I've seen you perform those jokes saying the exact same way, do the exact same punchlines, and not get like, so he knew like it's just sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. He's like, I've seen you do those exact same jokes and you did not get that response. He's like, I don't know. I was like, I can't explain it either. It's just how like
It's so
sometimes the
true.
right circumstances with the right room, the right crowd, you just never know.
Exactly. It's wild because it's like we want to, as comedians, be able to control that.
Yeah.
And it's like you can, but there's so many subtle details that go into all of it. And it's like, it can be overwhelming.
I had this one joke where I compare Trump to the Emperor from Star Wars, but you could fill in Trump with any politician, and the joke still works. But some guy in the audience was not having it. He just and they actually had to escort him out. I was like,
was it Trump?
Yeah, it was.
Wow, he was in your crowd.
I'm better than the Emperor.
That wasn't a bad impression.
Thanks. So you're 7 weeks back.
Yes.
What have been some of your favorite? Can you talk about like good room, like some of the rooms you've liked, some of the experiences that have been good in that, like your ups and downs? What have been some of the ups?
Well, actually, okay, so a couple things. I had a really good set back at the Hotel Vernon 1 week ago, and I felt really great about that because I really saw my inner confidence come back, and I saw myself.
You were awesome
light
on
up.
Mark's show too, by the way.
Oh, thank
in
you.
Grafton, you like were so good.
Wow, that's really nice that you're saying that because I did not feel that way about myself. Like,
really? After,
no.
well,
I did not enjoy it.
Daralyn, even after when we were all telling you that, you were like, "Oh, really?" Like, we're not lying. Like,
thanks. And it's like, I guess that with Mark's show, with your show, I was just getting through it.
Yeah.
Because I had only gone up 3 times prior to your show to practice.
And I was shocked when you said, I'm just getting back into it. I was like, what? I was like, really?
Like with that, like what I've been seeing from myself lately, because like right now I feel like I'm just watching myself from the outside.
Gotcha.
These last couple sets, I'm seeing myself like loosen up finally a little bit, and I'm seeing myself be able to step outside of the jokes, and that's allowing me to create connection much easier. But at Mark's show, I was like, stick to the jokes. Like I was like a statue inside of myself. Like I couldn't let myself out because I was like, anything could happen here. Like just say the words that you know are in your head. And so I did it, but I feel like I have capacity for more. So I'm really grateful for the praise you're giving me. It's really encouraging because I don't want to just walk away and quit again. Like, or at least I want to make it to 3 months right now. And I want to be able to give myself a chance to evaluate after 3 months.
Don't say I want to make it to 3 months. Say I'm going to make it to 3 months.
I'll definitely make it to 3 months if I'm at 7 weeks. Like that, I know I can do that. Yeah. And another thing that's been helping me is I started a writing group at Hotel Vernon.
Yes.
So as I told you about.
Yes.
And so
how's that going?
It's been going okay. We've done 3 now, and each week more and more people come. And for some reason, some people thought that it was like me saying I'm going to be teaching some sort of comedy writing class.
Oh, and this is more feedback and helping each other.
That's
right?
exactly what I wanted. I just wanted community because I felt really alone in this process. Like I was like, God, I've been in 3 different comedy scenes. Like I really just want to like have some camaraderie again. So that's why I wanted to start it. And this past week, or I guess it's been 9 days because we didn't have one 2 days ago. It was canceled. Like the whole mic was canceled.
Okay.
Just so many people were there contributing, and I just think it's smart. Like if you have an opportunity to crowdsource feedback on your jokes, why wouldn't you?
Yes.
So how do you run it? Like
basically, however many comics show up, it's just like you write your name down, and if I have 40 minutes and I have 8 comics, like everybody's going to get 5 minutes of just use the time however you want. Just like, for example, there was one brand new comic and he didn't feel prepared with jokes to get feedback on, so he just used it as a time to ask the room questions on general stand-up comedy, like how much do you find yourself lying when you write your jokes, or like he's like, how do I prevent myself from getting nervous? Like he used it for general questions, but other people are like, should I tweak the wording on this? Or other people are like, what's your emotional response?
What's a good tag, or what's a nice.
Like I just want it to be a way that we can help each other.
So is the person on stage at the mic asking this, or they're sitting at a table with
so everybody has the option to do that, but nobody does that.
Okay.
We
you
all
just sit around and chat.
Exactly. And I was really surprising to me, like at one of the most recent ones, like just how everybody is in their head so much. Like we all are exactly the same, but we're all telling ourselves that we're the exception and we're the ones that don't belong. But like that's literally the thing we all have in common.
Well, you know that. Have you heard that story about the Beatles?
What?
That Ringo went to George. You know this one, right? Ringo went to George and was like, or two other. I don't know who went to who, but they all went to other members of the Beatles and said, I feel like it's you three and me and I'm on the outside. And they said, oh, that's how I feel. And he went to the other guy and Paul said, oh, that's how I. So they all felt that the same thing, but they were all still the Beatles. Like,
yeah. And it's like this really nice feeling when you realize everybody's just like you.
yeah. Which is what? Insecure, wanting attention, needing control.
And at the same time, like, that's funny that I wish that on another person. Yeah.
God damn it, this guy's way too much like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all definitely have similar qualities. We all have similar things for getting us up there, like, and wanting to tell our jokes in the best possible way.
Right. Right.
And it's, the only true way to get feedback is when you're actually performing, but it's good to get feedback from other comics.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're actually performing, the room goes quiet. And you don't know why, and you got to know why, so you can fix it.
Right. And so that group is at the Hotel Vernon on Thursday nights at what time?
At 6:30. It's from 6:30 to 7:30.
And then the mic is at
8 o'clock.
Okay, cool. I will have to do that. I'm in jail on Thursday nights, but I will maybe leave early one of these nights and come over.
Yeah, whenever you want. We'll be there.
What have you, so you said you've done it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten like a good tag or a good angle or anything out of it for your own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I don't know that I've specifically gotten a tag or an angle, but it's really helping me feel less alone. Okay. And that's what was blocking me, or at least one of my blocks.
Yeah, right.
So
it does feel good to be part of a community and have, camaraderie and a group of people that you can be a part of.
Yeah, and I know people say like stand up is solitary, but that's just not how I operate.
Gotcha.
I mean, technically I can operate that way because I've lived in 3 different scenes now. I can do it, but it's not ideal.
Do you write anything other than jokes?
I would say not at this time.
No.
In the past, I've taken a lot of writing classes. I've
communications major, so you probably there's some writing involved in that, I would imagine. No.
Yeah. Mine was actually more focused on speech.
Okay.
And that was cool because it taught me a lot about presentation and establishing credibility. But little did I know that once you start going personal and like sharing like things that are traumatizing, like that totally changes how confident you can be.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny because I joke about having Crohn's disease on stage, and before I got diagnosed with Crohn's, the symptoms were so embarrassing I didn't tell anyone, and now I'm telling people about it on stage. So like that breakthrough of something that you don't want to share that's so intimate and embarrassing, and now you're making fun of it. I think those are the best jokes.
It's like it makes you feel like you're winning.
Yes.
It's empowering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What was I going to say? How would you compare, I mean, there's probably a lot to talk to here, but like New York scene, LA scene, Worcester. I mean, does Worcester have a scene? Worcester versus Boston? Are they all kind of one thing? I don't know. Well,
sure, Dave. The answer is yes.
I would separate Worcester.
We don't have a
Boston.
club.
Yeah.
We don't have a club, but we have a scene.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think Worcester certainly counts, and it does feel very separate from Boston.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, like I don't know how to enter the Boston scene. Like I keep going.
Don't do it on the Facebook group.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I thought that was how you did it. No? That's how everybody else is doing it.
the Facebook group is best read when you have popcorn.
Right.
But
it's so sad. It's sad.
I know,
almost,
and
like
because
we want the opposite of that.
Right. And I'd like to be able to enter the Boston scene, but I think for me too, I have to really make the decision to commit myself because I'm still only at 1 to 3 times a week getting up.
only.
Well,
That would be like-
I just
he gets mad at me because I won't go up for 3 months and then I'll go up and do really well. He's like, you
He
asshole.
does better than me.
wow.
I go out 3 times a week, 3 times every week. He does stand up 6 times a year and gets more laughs than me.
You're a unicorn.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you do the same stuff or you bring in new stuff?
Mostly the same stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a so this year in this May is going to be 30 years without drinking for me.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So I'm doing a show where I'm doing songs, jokes, and stories. So like at the post office pub where you did that.
Oh, that's very cool.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I'll have to kind of take all my material together and put it. I'm excited to do that because I'll usually do 5 chunks here, but I could do like 5 minutes on just Crohn's disease if I wanted. But when I'm only given 5 minutes, I don't want to do that, right? I want to talk about other things too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think that's really intriguing to me. I always love seeing musical comedy because it can generate such attractive energy. Like I don't know if attractive is the right word, but just such like
infectious.
Yeah, infectious
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know Tim Mitchum?
No.
He plays piano and sings funny songs.
Is he local?
He's English, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I think he's English. Yeah. But
I'll
he
have to
does
check him out.
Funny songs. Yeah.
Okay.
Who would you, if you were putting together your dream comedy show, what comedians would you put on it? Dead or alive? And what order would they go on?
Okay.
Including you. You could be on the show.
I'm okay. Am I hosting?
Yeah, you can host.
Okay. That's and how many comics do I get?
It's your show.
All right. I would take Ellen DeGeneres in the 80s.
Okay, yeah, her early Ellen.
I do. Yeah, I don't want to do a tangent too much, but
Okay.
I like her latest special, but I think she's at her peak in the 80s.
Okay. As far as stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually like Zach Galifianakis before he got
Famous.
arrogant.
Really?
Same word. Famous arrogant. Yeah.
Wow.
Ellen and Zach come back to the earth.
Yeah.
No NDAs signed with these people.
I thought he had like a commune where artists could go live. Am I making that up in my head?
I don't know because
Okay.
now I want to go there if that's true.
Well, let's find that out.
Yeah.
I know what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to drive down there.
I'm ready. Seriously, that would be so cool to spend a week or 2 there if that existed.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go.
Ellen, Zach.
Okay. It's hard to because now I'm like getting out of like who are the greats in my head.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. Oh, Rodney Dangerfield. I think that would be cool. I think Jimmy Fallon would be a great sort of like he'd be like the person I'd put up first.
Okay.
I always like to have a very relatable everyman.
Okay.
I'll put them up first to the comics. I mean, the audience needs to like their expectations needs to meet reality. Like
Yeah.
who is a comic in their head, and then the person gets up. The first person needs to be like, "What's the deal with men and women?" And they're like, "That's what I thought comedy was." And then it goes on.
Who are these people?
That's right. But I don't know if I will put Jerry Seinfeld on it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like
I saw him in Worcester.
you did
2
in
years ago.
Worcester.
In Worcester. Yeah.
Excuse me. How was he?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. It was I think the Queen had just died. So that's the first thing he talked about. And he talked about how now like you can't surprise anyone with news because they already know. Like, oh, did you hear the Queen died? Yeah, I heard. Of course I heard. Like,
Yeah.
and how we still want to be the one to like put out that, like, tell the person the big news. So it was a good bit about that. But yeah, he was good. He's not my favorite. Mike Birbiglia is my favorite current performing comic because he's exactly what I want to be, storyteller.
I can see a little bit of that in how you communicate, like
Yeah.
similarities with how he communicates.
Are you comparing me to Mike Birbiglia?
I mean, calm down.
God.
But no, I liked the movie that he had.
Sleepwalk with Me?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, we watched that in jail. The prisoners liked it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's relatable.
Yeah.
I like The Biggest Fear, bears.
Yeah.
That's a good joke. Yeah.
I like how he jumped out of the second story of a hotel.
Right. Yeah. You're bringing me back to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you like more storytelling.
Storytelling, yeah. That's my jam.
I guess I like storytelling, but I like a structured joke. Like,
yeah, I like both.
maybe I also would add somebody like Anthony Jeselnik to my show, but I need a little more diversity, and I need.
Yeah, you got one woman.
Yeah. Guy Branum, I mean, he's also white, but he is gay. Like, have you ever seen him?
I don't think so. I'm sure I've seen him, but the name I can't picture right now. But I know I watch a lot of stand-up.
Okay.
So I'll definitely look him up.
Okay.
Branum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just very like a loud,
Okay.
explosive presence.
Brian Regan's also one of my favorite, who is completely clean.
You like people that are logical, like very grounded, it seems.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like Mitch Hedberg too. I wouldn't call him grounded.
He's like, I think he's so logical, but he's so absurd. And it's the balance of the two.
Yes. Yeah. He was amazing. It's too bad. Like, I remember one of my neighbors said, "Oh, we're just talking about stand-up. Have you heard of Mitch Hedberg?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And we listened to one of his CDs, and I was like, "Oh my God, like it's amazing." And I looked up his dates, and he had like one date in New York, and I was like, "Well, we can't go there." It was like that weekend. I was like, "Oh, we can't go that." And then like I think a week later, he died. I was like, "Oh my God, like I just discovered this guy." Like,
yeah, that's such a bummer.
Right? But at the same time, I can still enjoy him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so sad when like you have a chance for that. Like one time I waited on Norm Macdonald and I like started to like he liked me. I told him I did comedy and like I don't know if it was ever gonna like become anything more than a distant like he gave me a little praise without ever seeing me do stand up.
Right.
But then he died. And it's always so sad when any comedian dies because they put so much out there. They bare their soul and like it's recorded and saved for history, but then they're gone. And
he was so good on Weekend Update. I thought Norm Macdonald.
Like,
do you remember his favorite? It's one of my favorite jokes ever on Weekend Update. It was like Kenny G just came out with a new Christmas album for everyone. Happy birthday, Jesus! I hope you like crap. Like, that was the best ever. Like just the way he said it. Like,
yeah, he was very blunt. Yeah, there was this like weird thing where he wanted a Mexican cola at the table, but like we didn't have that for the restaurant.
They're so much better.
Yeah, he was obsessed with them, and that's what they said. Like he couldn't go a meal without like a Mexican cola out of the bottle, and so I like ran into the room service station and like stole one from their fridge and gave it to him.
Nice.
And I didn't tell him any of that. I was just like, yes, Norm, we have that. Here you go.
Like, so wait, when you told them you had it, did you already have that plan in your head?
Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to sneak into this other area and steal it and give it to him and just like act natural. And then he came back the next day and he wanted a Mexican cola. And they were like, we don't have that, Norm.
She lied to me.
Well, no, he was like, is Daralyn here? Like he did that, and then they told me Norm Macdonald was asking for me. And
when I'm here, Daralyn gets me a Mexican Coke. Okay?
Yeah, but I thought it was about stand up, maybe. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then
he cares about the Coke, sorry.
Right? And I don't know if he ever got the soda.
That's still an awesome story that you'll never forget.
True.
Right?
But then he so I got him the cola and he was like, I like a Mexican cola because it just like it looks like the curve of a woman's body, like that. And
creepy.
I exactly. I was like, okay, and and then they were like, what happened to you? You were so charismatic a few seconds ago, and I was like, I don't know, like
confused.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Daralyn, our hour is up. That flew by.
Yeah.
Didn't it? That was great.
Really enjoyable.
I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time. And any of our listeners, is there a Instagram, a website, anything you want to share?
Yeah. Follow me on either TikTok or Instagram or YouTube at Daralyn Makes Pet Sofas. I'm really excited because I'm making a miniature Simpsons living room for my cats. And
wow.
Yeah, I'm dying to finish it. So in the next month or two, it'll be done.
2 Simpsons episodes. Yeah.
You what?
That haven't sold. I've written 2 Simpsons episodes.
Good
huge
for you.
Fan, huge fan.
Okay, so you're my target demo. I look forward to finishing it. So yeah, follow me there so I can get it done. And it's going to be incredible to see cats on top of that orange couch.
I can't wait. Daralyn Kelleher, everyone. Thank you so much for being our guest today.